Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about the big buzz surrounding Ed Policy, the incoming president of the Green Bay Packers. It's been all over social media forums and Packers Twitter. Fans are freaking out, hot takes are flying, and it all comes from Policy's very first meeting with the local media. So let's slow down for a second, take a breath, and really break down what was said, what it means, and why it's not the end of the world. So here's the deal. Ed Policy sat down with some of the local beat reporters and dropped a few lines that honestly were pretty predictable for someone stepping into this kind of leadership role. But one line in particular set off alarms all over Packers fandom. He mentioned that one of his top 3 priorities as president is to keep the Packers in Green Bay. Yeah, that's literally what he said. And almost instantly people started asking, wait, does that mean the Packers might leave? Why would he even bring that up? What's happening behind the scenes? Is there some secret plan we don't know about? First off, let's put this to rest. The Packers are not moving. Let me say that again. The Packers are not moving. To pull off something that dramatic would take an act of football gods. There's a whole massive complicated process that would have to happen. It would require votes, approvals, logistical nightmares. And let's not forget the collective anger of millions of fans who own shares in this team and live and breathe Packers football. So no, Green Bay isn't suddenly losing its franchise. That's just not reality. But let's rewind and actually look at the context. What Policy was talking about wasn't some relocation plan. It was about the business side of the Packers. Remember, this team doesn't have a billionaire owner sitting on mountains of cash who can absorb financial losses just because he feels like it. They don't have an individual investor who's willing to eat tens of millions of dollars in bad years to keep the team afloat. Every single dollar matters in Green Bay. Every decision has to be about sustainability, long-term growth, and making sure this team is financially healthy for decades to come. And honestly, that's what Mark Murphy did so well during his time in charge. The Titletown district, that wasn't just for fun. That was a strategic move to generate year-round revenue. The restaurants, the apartments, the commercial space, all of that is designed to bring in money, even when there's no football being played. Same with bringing the NFL draft to Green Bay. Same with stadium expansions. Same with premium seating, options, club seats, luxury boxes, and the whole push for upgraded fan experiences inside Lambeau Field. It's all part of making the Packers more financially resilient. Now sure, whenever a president talks about the need to make more money, it's going to rub some fans the wrong way. It feels corporate. It feels like a business-first mindset in a sport where people just want to care about touchdowns and Super Bowls. But let's be real here, this is professional football. It is a business. And the number one job of the Packers president, it's not about calling plays, hiring coaches, or making draft picks. It's about ensuring the financial health of the franchise. The Packers exist in the smallest market in the entire NFL, competing in a multi-billion-dollar league where everyone else has deeper pockets and bigger TV deals. And while it's romantic to say the Packers are owned by the fans, the truth is they don't have an owner to bail them out when things get tight. They can't run to some oil tycoon or tech billionaire for a cash infusion. They have to find creative ways to grow revenue, build reserves, and show the NFL every single year that Green Bay is a viable market for a pro football team. That's what Ed Policy was really saying. He was saying that part of his job, part of the legacy he's inheriting, is making sure the Packers stay in Green Bay not just in 2025, but into 030 to 040 and beyond. And to do that, the Packers need to keep being profitable. They need to keep showing the league that this model works. Now let's get into the part that some people aren't fully grasping. The NFL isn't just going to sit back and let a team be unprofitable year after year. If the Packers ever reached a point where they were losing money consistently, where the financial model didn't make sense, the other owners could theoretically step in. That's how the NFL works. It's a partnership of franchises, and every owner has a say in how the league operates. If one team starts becoming a financial drag, the other owners could call for a vote, start pushing for change, and in extreme cases force action. Is that happening now? Not even close. The Packers have hundreds of millions of dollars in reserve funds. They're healthy, but that's because of years of smart financial planning. And Policy is making it clear that's not something that can slip. You have to fight for it every single year, especially when you're Green Bay and you're not in Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York. Some fans also forget that being a small market team comes with extra pressure. There's no safety net. There's no billionaire behind the curtain willing to write off losses for the sake of pride or ego. If Green Bay doesn't generate revenue, if Lambeau isn't packed every Sunday, If merchandise sales dip, if sponsorship deals slow down, that impacts the team in real and immediate ways. They can't afford down years on the balance sheet. It's just not an option. So when you hear policy talking about expanding revenue streams, upgrading facilities, or pushing new fan engagement projects, understand that it's not greed, it's survival. It's the cost of doing business in today's NFL. Teams like Dallas can absorb bad financial years. Jerry Jones has been a master at driving revenue streams through sponsorship deals, brand partnerships, and creative business moves. And while Packers fans take pride in not having a flashy owner like that, the reality is that Green Bay has to work twice as hard to stay competitive off the field. And look, let's address the elephant in the room. There are always going to be fans who wish the team had an owner. Someone who could swoop and make bold decisions, fire coaches on a whim, force big free agent signings, and generally act like a sports movie hero. But that's not how the Packers operate. They never have. They are governed by a board run by a president. And every big move is the result of careful planning, financial forecasting, and long-term strategy. So bottom line, no, Ed Policy is not threatening to move the Packers out of Green Bay. He's not even hinting at it. What he's doing is reminding everyone that the business side of this franchise matters. That staying profitable isn't optional, and that staying in Green Bay isn't a given. It's something they have to fight for and prove to the league every single year. All right, that covers the first half of this whole discussion. Up next, we're going to get into the football side of things. What this leadership change could mean for Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, and how communication inside the building might be shifting. Stick around, because there's a lot more to unpack. Now, shifting gears a little, let's dive into the football side of this Ed Policy conversation, because there were a couple of comments that touched directly on team management and front office dynamics. One thing that raised some eyebrows was the mention of communication between the coaching staff and the front office. Policy mentioned wanting to increase both the frequency and depth of communication between the two sides. And of course, that immediately led people to speculate, does that mean there's been a communication problem? Is there some kind of rift between Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur? Is Policy trying to step in and change how football decisions are made? Let's pump the brakes on that too. From everything we've seen over the past few years, Gutekunst and LaFleur seem to be working together just fine. They appear aligned on team-building philosophy, draft strategies, and roster decisions. Obviously, there will always be moments where a coach wants one thing and the general manager decides something else. That happens in every organization. But there's been no credible reporting suggesting a serious lack of communication or any dysfunction between these two. If anything, they seem to have built a collaborative relationship that's far better than what we saw in the final years of the Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson era. Policy's point seems to be more about building on what's already working, creating more opportunities for dialogue, making sure everyone feels heard, and ensuring alignment from top to bottom. Think about it like this: even in healthy organizations, there's always room for better communication. More meetings, more strategy sessions, more collaboration. It doesn't mean things are broken. It means they want to get even better. And for anyone worried that Policy is going to suddenly start meddling in football decisions, let's be clear. There's no evidence of that. Policy isn't a football evaluator. He doesn't watch tape like Gutekunst or LaFleur. His job is to run the business side, not to pick players or call plays. Historically, Packers presidents have respected that boundary, and everything about Ed Policy's track record suggests he will too. Sure, he might want to know the general direction the team is heading, or sit in on high-level discussions, but he's not about to start making personnel decisions. Ultimately, the comments about communication seem like common-sense leadership moves. More face time between decision-makers, more clarity on goals, more alignment across departments. That's the kind of thing any smart executive would push for in any business, let alone a professional football team.